여러분 안녕하세요.
Welcome to our last lecture.
Today, we take a closer look at Korean popular culture, including the Korean wave, K-pop, Korean dramas, and movies.
We'll also talk about some hand gestures and other codes of behavior that will come in handy if you decide to visit Korea.
So, let's get started.
When it comes to talking about the different aspects of Korean culture and how it's been received around the world, you'll often hear the term Korean wave or Hallyu. But what does this term actually even mean? Following its astounding economic boom in the second half of the 20th century, Korea began to quicken the international interests that soon not only focused on the economic possibilities, but geared towards the cultural aspects. While Korea was discovered as a market for foreign cultural products, the Korean government took kindly to the idea of culture as an exportable industry and actively supported the development of a competitive cultural industry. These encouraging measures were accompanied by a liberalization of the media in many Asian countries in the 1990s that brought forth a cultural exchange of media products. Beginning from the mid-1990s, South Korean TV dramas and pop music gained great popularity in other Asian countries and subsequently worldwide. The success of the Korean TV drama What is Love All About? 사랑이 뭐길래 in 1997 in the Chinese TV is seen by many as the begin of the so-called Hallyu or Korean wave. Other dramas like Stars in My Heart, 별은 내 가슴에 in 1999 or Winter Sonata, 겨울 연가 in 2002 helped to strengthen the interest in Korean TV dramas in China, Japan, and Southeast Asia, while various Korean singers, boy and girl groups, further popularized the Korean wave during the first decade of the 21st century. The international success of Psy's 2012 single Gangnam Style, the Korean boy band BTS leading the Billboard Global 200 and the US Billboard Hot 100 in 2020, or the 2020 Academy Award winner Parasite clearly demonstrate that the Korean pop culture wave has become a global phenomenon. The huge success of South Korean cultural products abroad at the beginning of the 21st century has even led some governments in Asia to take steps to protect their own cultural industries. But the Korean wave is not only limited to media products. Korean cosmetic products enjoy a huge popularity at the domestic market as well as overseas. Korean fashion trends noticeably influence the fashion in the Asia-Pacific region. Nowadays, there are Korean restaurants to be found in all Western metropolises. Korean literature finds more translators, and Korean artists stage exhibitions in Asia as well as in Europe and America. The Korean wave has established Korea as a culture with distinct features in the international community. Pop music, as we just heard, is one of the biggest cultural exports in the Korean wave. At least since the summer of 2012, when Psy's hit single, Gangnam Style, broke all kinds of records, K-pop gained the attention of the world. One reason for the quick international success of modern music might be the similarity of pop music around the globe. But Korean music also has a long, rich and distinct musical tradition that we can explore in more detail now. Korean music has developed from various sources, but over the course of several millennia, the once distinct genres influenced each other and converged. One of the sources of Korean music was court music, which can be classified into two subcategories. Music that accompanied rituals and royal ceremonies and was deeply influenced by Chinese court music of the Tang and Sung dynasties, and another sort that included all kinds of music that was played for the entertainment of the court aristocracy. Aristocratic music favored melodic instruments, particularly string and wind instruments, as they were considered to be more refined. Examples for wind instruments are the degum, a large transverse flute, or the tungso, a vertically blown bamboo flute. The hegum, a two-stringed vertical fiddle, or the ajeng, a seven-string zither, are better known examples for both string instruments. But the most famous of the traditional Korean instruments is the gayagum, a plucked zither, traditionally with 12 strings. Gayagum interpretations of modern pop songs and its use in contemporary compositions show that the versatility of this instrument is not limited to traditional court music. Another traditional source was religious music. Korean Buddhist music mostly uses solemn percussions, bells and chants, while shamanic music uses different percussions and rhythms, but also woodwinds like degum or piri, taepyeongso, an oboe with a piercing sound, can be found in both kinds as well as in folk music. Folk music was mostly played during festivities and sometimes accompanied the work in the fields. While folk music uses the instruments that are also used in shamanic rituals, it is mainly centered around percussive rhythms that were supposed to create a cheerful atmosphere. Most noteworthy here is the so-called samolori, a drum and gong ensemble consisting of 4 basic instruments. Aside from the instrumental music, Korea has a strong lyrical tradition. The pansori is sometimes called Korean opera, but it is completely different from European operas. A solo performer, only accompanied by a drum player, tells a story in a sung form. Of the original 12 classic plays, nowadays only 5 still exist. In May 2020, the group Inalchi uses material from the pansori opera Sugunga, mixed with funk and new wave instrumentals, which became a surprise smash hit inside Korea and abroad, and might too eventually lead to a revived interest in pansori. Another vocal tradition is the minyo, or Korean folkloric songs, among which the most famous is Arirang from Gyeonggi-do, which you can hear in our end credits. At the present, Korea has become a vibrant environment for contemporary music with a multitude of internationally successful soloists and acts such as Psy, Boa, Rain, Girls' Generation, Big Bang, EXO, and many others. Their musical styles that show various influences of pop and rock, jazz and hip-hop, R&B, EDM, and classical music are usually subsumed under the label K-pop as part of the Korean wave industry. What appears cheerful and unrestrained to the audience, however, is an extremely demanding profession in a multi-billion-dollar industry where nothing is left to chance. One mainstay of the Korean wave has been Korean dramas, or more recently Korean movies and film. Korean television dramas, or K-dramas, are television series that are fictional series which are originally shot in the Korean language. They gained worldwide popularity, particularly since the big success of What is Love All About from 1997 in China and Winter Sonata from 2002 in Japan. There are a lot of different genres in K-drama, like action dramas, historical dramas, school dramas, medical and legal dramas, or comedies. Sageuk dramas normally take place in the course of Korean history, while contemporary romance dramas focus on romantic relations and family ties. While dramas use a certain background story, they allude to other topics that illuminate Korean customs and culture. For example, the internationally successful epic TV series Dae Jangum, that tells the story of an orphan cook in the royal kitchen that eventually becomes the first female physician of the king, uses this historical framework to shed a light on Korean food, medicine, social hierarchies, gender roles, and fashion. Korean dramas differ in style and tone, but almost always include romantic elements and various emotional themes, and even intriguing plot twists. Many series are dealing with traditional Confucian values, as well as topics like materialism and individualism, and in recent years they increasingly broach social issues. A strength of the Korean entertainment producers is to adopt and convert popular Western content in a way that it matches the taste of the Asian audiences. The cultural proximity to other Asian societies, commonly shared traditional values and cultural familiarity often gave Korean productions the edge over the Western products. It also should not be denied that the success of K-dramas had a strong financial aspect. In the initial stage of the Korean wave, before the early 2000s, Korean dramas were undercutting the price of their competitors from Japan or Hong Kong several times while maintaining high production values. Even though Korean dramas marked the beginning of the Korean wave, in recent years Korean movies have also gained much international recognition. From an occasional Western moviegoer's point of view, it might appear that Korean cinema started with the 2003 box office hit Old Boy, a cinematic adaptation of a Japanese manga of the same name by Korean director Park Chan-wook. Korean movies had been presented at Western film festivals before, but none received recognition in a comparable degree. Showered with praise at the 2004 Cannes Film Festival and by director Quentin Tarantino, this movie became the first Korean mainstream cinema hit. And for years, it seemed like every film critic that spoke about Korean cinema had to demonstrate his expertise by mentioning Old Boy at least once per article. But South Korean cinema has much more to offer than just disturbingly entertaining revenge stories, and its history reaches back a century. After an era of early silent films and a period that was dominated by the code of the Japanese colonial power, Korean cinema developed again after the liberation with a golden era from the late 1950s until the early 1970s. The domestic thriller Hanyo, the Housemaid from 1960, one of the most praised Korean movies of all time by director Kim Ki-young, or the family drama The Coachman that received an award at the 11th Berlin International Film Festival in 1961, are just two examples from a highly prolific period of Korean film. After a period of artistic restrictions, Korean cinema started to recover during the 1980s and became increasingly recognized and acclaimed with the beginning of the new millennium. Korean filmmakers became regular guests at international film festivals, and movies like the social critical love stories Oasis from 2002 and Binjip Free Iron from 2004, the historical drama The King and the Clown 2005, the differentiated Korean war drama Taegukgi, The Brotherhood of War from 2004, the psychological search for their own identity on the beach at night alone from 2017, or the psycho-thriller Burning 2018 are just a few examples for movies that won leading awards and became commercial successes abroad. Korean law sets a quota for the percentage of Korean movies that must be played at the domestic theaters, and Korean movies often outperform international movies. Among the highest-grossing Korean movies, there are historical dramas as well as movies about the recent Korean history, action and horror movies, and science fiction movies. Korean movies are still seldomly dubbed, only subtitled, a reason that possibly deters larger audiences in the West from watching them in theaters. With the success of the 2019 Academy Award winner Parasite by director Bong Joon-ho, that made South Korean cinema a definite global phenomenon, this might be about to change. When we get to know another culture, we can make many intriguing observations. One interesting aspect is body language. Aside from expressions that are unique to individuals, every culture has its ideas and codes of what is considered normal and appropriate behavior. Many physical postures and gestures in Korean culture have been strictly codified by centuries of Confucianism, though some are more recent creations. Social hierarchy also plays a crucial role in Korean society. These social codes can be quite complicated, but since a proper attitude in the right situation is expected, one should be aware of what one is doing with whom. So let's discuss some of the basic rules around body language in Korea. Professor So, since you are Korean, could you discuss some of the important rules for body language and gestures in Korean?
Of course. Let's first talk about gestures used when greeting someone. In Western countries, handshaking is pretty commonplace, but in Korea, it's uncommon. In Korean culture, when you meet someone part ways or want to thank someone, you bow. This type of gesture in Korean is called insa. For this normal bow, both hands are placed on your legs, and your face is bent toward the ground. The more formal the situation, the deeper the bow. The bow used also depends on the difference in status or age between the people involved. Besides, there's also a deep bow called 절, which is used on special occasions. For example, during ceremonies like wedding and funerals, in front of respected elders, and also during the biggest Korean annual festivals, 설날 and 추석.
That seems a lot more difficult than just shaking hands.
You're right. These gestures are complex because they not only express the simple greeting, but also say a lot about how people interact with each other and their relationship within Korean society.
That sounds important. Can you give us a few more examples?
Sure, expressing respect or politeness is a very important aspect of Korean life. You can see this, for example, in interaction during gift giving. In Korea, you never give or receive anything with only one hand. If you don't need the second hand, it should at least support the other hand when you give or receive something. And if you want to be especially polite, you can give or receive something with both hands and combine it with a bow.
Phew, that's a lot to remember. Any other faux pas to look out for?
Actually, there are a lot more other little things too. Imagine this situation. You are having a drink with your professor. To be polite, if you accept a glass of alcohol from the professor, in Korea, you should receive it with both hands. And when you drink it, you should turn your head slightly sideways so that avoid direct eye contact.
That's really a ton of rules. Speaking about table etiquette, I heard there are quite a number of things to consider. Can you give us a few examples?
Let's see. You are not supposed to pour your own drink or drink by yourself. Usually, you wait until you are invited to drink, often with a toast. You are supposed to serve elders when their glass is empty. And if your nose is running, don't clean it while sitting at the table.
Now, that will be hard to do with all the spicy Korean food.
And especially important, if you pause while eating, never stick your chopsticks into your rice bowl.
Why not?
Because it resembles the way incense is presented during funerals and could be severely misunderstood.
These gestures and codes of etiquette are likely stemming from some old Korean traditions. But are there any more modern gestures that we should know about as well?
Of course there are. New gestures are created all the time. Let's take, for example, the many different heart gestures that are popular in Korea. They are used in various situations to show that you like something or somebody. There are heart gestures made with 2 arms, with 2 hands, with 1 hand, and even a heart made by 2 people. For women, it is also considered polite to cover your mouth with 1 hand while laughing. And a gesture that you will notice everywhere is the victory sign. It seems to be impossible nowadays to take a photograph without somebody making it.
Thank you very much for these short explanations. We can't cover more of these few gestures, but you might sure discover a lot more when you start studying Koreans and their body language. Getting all the rules and subtleties can take years, but it shouldn't discourage you. Just observe what people do.
Our series of lectures has come to an end. There are many more aspects that are worth talking about, but we hope we inspired you to learn more about Korea and its culture.